It is overtime here at Old Favorite Friday, and we are talking about Southern Tier's 2X Double IPA, a beer that I really, really enjoy, and I'm really thankful that someone suggested it last week that we should feature this beer. And Southern Tier holds a very special place in my heart because years and years ago, when it was a beer wasteland in South Florida, we did not get anything from Southern Tier. We just heard tell of these amazing beers, a lot of the Blackwater series stuff, Chocolat, the Creme Brulee Stout. We just heard all these amazing things and could never get our hands on it. And I had a girlfriend that lived in Virginia, and when I went up to visit her, one of the breweries that I would buy like cases of was Southern Tier's beers, and I'd bring them down to share with my friends in Florida. That is not the case anymore. We get plenty of Southern Tier beer down here. But do you have any thoughts on Southern Tier in general and this beer you want to share, Joel?
Yeah, I'm so glad this is the one that was chosen this week because I feel like at least we kind of have a collective memory on that. I mean, when you mentioned the Chocolat or the Pumpkin, Creme Brulee, I mean, these guys were really known as one of the breweries, at least down here, as the culinary inspired, very experimental brewery, and you could always expect something really crazy and insane from them, but also very good. And it kind of feels like a West Coast style double IPA would fly under the radar for them a little bit, and it's executed excellently. I mean, this is a fantastic beer. Haven't had it in forever, so I'm really glad it was chosen. And when you are known for those kind of eccentric styles, this stuff can really fly under the radar for you, and they do it so well.
Well, that's the thing. That, as I said, this is the way I got introduced to Southern Tier was towards those crazy esoteric kinds of beers. But then when I would bring just their regular pale ale, when I brought their regular IPA home for the first time, I fell in love with the brand, not just the individual beers, for that kind of cult status and sharing status, and was really impressed by this. In fact, back in the day when I used to work at Funky Buddha, we had the head brewer for Southern Tier do some kind of seminar or something over, I don't know, it's like a primitive version of Skype. It feels like it was like 80 years ago. It was over mimeograph maybe, of doing like a little Q&A that we got to participate in, because they are known as being incredible brewers and making incredible beers across the board, not just the crazy stuff. And I just get really excited to try a classic West Coast IPA with some bitterness and the classic sea hop flavors and citrus. And listen, I guess if I was trying this same beer 10 years ago when every single beer was trying to be like this, maybe it wouldn't have stood out as much. But I love that they're still making this style. I know they have, you were looking up before, they have a hazy version,
citrus version.
So they're doing this just like everybody else.
Yeah. But
I love that they're still making this way, this good.
Yeah, they do it so well. And what's crazy to me, looking under the can here, it's out of code by 2 days.
Yeah.
And tastes as fresh as it possibly could to me. I mean, this does not come across like a beer that was canned months and months ago, which it probably was. I mean, they have not only kept up with being able to brew incredible beer and classic styles, but they clearly have their QC under control, and it shows in the beer.
QC is a big issue, right? That's one of your little pet peeves, one of the things that we talk about here constantly at Barrel of Monks. And just looking at just trying beer in general, funny you mentioned the date code, I was poking around trying to find, found a couple older 6-packs of this and reached the back of the shelf and found a little bit newer one. And it's one of the problems that we have when we have so many beers in the market, and you have beers that only should have a 90-day shelf life or what have you. And I was finding a lot of IPAs that were 6 months old, and beers that I want to feature here on Old Favorite Friday, and I go, well, I'm not going to grab this one because I'm not going to drink it. It's not going to be representative for me to enjoy it and describe it, because that's not what the brewer intended it to be.
Right, and to me, buying a beer like this and having to be in those situations at the beer store or wherever you're getting your stuff, it always seems like I have to lean toward the breweries I trust, because I feel like a 6-month-old beer from these guys or Sierra Nevada or someone like that is a lot more trustworthy than, sadly, a brewery right down the street who's also canning. We clearly know that this beer has been put through some process where they are ensuring the quality of it and the freshness, and that it's not going to go bad in the package. Like I said, this tastes as fresh as would brand new, I would assume, and it's terrific, and it instills a level of trust for me where I know, hey, maybe the date code isn't as fresh as I want it, but I trust these guys because I've had older beer from them and it's still great.
Trust is a big deal, and we feature individual beers on Old Favorite Friday, a lot of them that are recommended by people who watch these videos, and we have to like them too. That's an important thing. We've had some suggestions of beers that we don't really care for, and while we appreciate those, we have to be behind these beers. We're not just going to feature any old beer, but I'm really happy to say that most of the time, the beers we feature aren't just that one beer from that brewery that's great. You can almost always go down the line of their entire portfolio and know that they make great beer time in and time out, style to style, and Southern Tier is no exception to that. They are a perfect epitome of that idea, and we appreciate you guys joining us here for Old Favorite Friday Overtime. Please click on the other links. There's tons of other conversations where Joel and myself, or myself and Ralph, or some other guests will talk about classic beers and go a little bit more in depth than we do on those little small videos on Instagram or Facebook or wherever these things show up. I'm not really quite sure. Cheers.
Cheers.